filmfestivalcircuit.com and the director of the Oregon Short Film Festival. We have a fall 2022 event, and we're slowly rolling out the announcements for our selections. And we're joined today by Nicola Peluso, who's an actor and writer for the film Lost Found, and I'll let you say it in French. How you doing, Nicola?
I'm very well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Congrats on your selection. We're looking forward to screening your film in Portland.
Thank you. I'm absolutely delighted. It's such a treat, and it's so nice to be here with you this afternoon or
Thank
morning where
you.
you are, because you're in
Yeah,
Portland.
it's 10:21 in the morning. That's all right. And you're in London, so it's
In
what time is it for
London, yeah,
you?
it's 4:21 in the afternoon. So I
Oh
missed my day
man.
already.
It's like a whole Back to the Future thing. Makes my head hurt. Well, we're excited. Judges just loved your film. Early selection. Everybody watched it. People were highly engaged. Applause. Just they're into it, and they like your work. They like the acting. They like the story. They like the writing. They like the production. I can't say enough good things about this film. Please give us the synopsis when you get it. Sorry, right when you were drinking water.
No,
Um,
thank you so much. I'm flattered. To speak on behalf of my team. Like, we're all so proud. Um, the film, its official title is in French, Perde, but translated into English is Lost Found. The story is about two half sisters meeting for the first time after the passing of their father. And we follow them through their day, their first day of meeting, um, and just see what happens. Gets a little wild.
well, I won't give the story away, but I will say this: the chemistry is awesome, and just between the two actors, one of which I'm looking at now, um, the chemistry is great, and the dialogue is very natural. The whole situation goes through kind of an emotional ride there, and without giving it away, it really doesn't end exactly how I thought it was going to end. It actually took some turns in there. It looks like either you're very familiar with the other actress, or you guys really ran lines forever. But talk to me about your casting. How did you select who you selected, and talk about that process of working together.
Well, thank you so much for the compliments. So actually, Gianna and I are good friends. So we've known each other for quite a while. And we actually met on set of a film called Doorways years ago. It was my first job. She was already incredibly seasoned. And we actually met on set about 2 minutes before we started shooting our first scene together. It was a very rushed project, and our first scene was in an elevator. And I walked in very nervous, and she said, "Hi, I'm Deanna, nice to meet you." And then the director called action, and we just started working and hit it off. And that film went on to do very well. It went to the Pan-African Film Festival, which is Oscar qualifying. It also went to Cannes Short Film Corner,
Mhm.
and it had a really amazing journey. And after that, we for many years were saying, how can we work together again? We need to do something. I want to play with you. What can we do? And so I really wrote this story with us in mind, and I kind of built the world in reverse. So I started with her and myself, and then we knew that we were going to do kind of low budget indie, have fun, and see what comes out of it. Not always the best way to start a film. Lots of people I know, they plan in advance, start to finish. They have a strategy of where they wanted to go, but for us, it was just the passion of bringing life to characters together, because it's what we love to do. And so I said, okay, well, what are our resources? Where do you live? Where do I live? What are our qualities? What is that energy like between us like? And from
Mhm.
there, the story kind of came to be.
Well, why were you motivated to create this specific story? Of all of the things, I know you wanted to work with her again, but on a personal note, going a little bit more into the writing part of it, is there an experience or something that you were trying to were you inspired by, or you were focused on, or how did that all? Because it seems very personal. That's why I ask.
Yes, so there are I would say that I pulled fragments from a lot of different lived experiences, not only my own lived experiences, but experiences within my family. So one of the trigger points for exploration with this script was that my paternal grandfather, he's Haitian. That's part of the reason why the title is in French. It's a nod to my Haitian roots. And our director is also French. Pardon me. And he was a fascinating man. He was a lawyer. He traveled all around the world. He on paper was an incredible, upstanding, regal, fascinating man. But not until later in life did it come out that he had fathered several children around the world, in many different countries, Germany, I think somewhere in Southeast Asia. I mean, really, really fascinating. And watching the way that his decisions eroded my father's life and their kind of core family, and also the impact that it had on those children who did try and make contact with my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
So that was really heartbreaking and disappointing that that he had abandoned, in a sense, these siblings of my father, who actually I don't know who they are. I wouldn't even begin to know how to find them. And
Oh,
so that was a very powerful starting point. But I'm really invested in female stories and the intricacies of passionate female relationship, and how they're I'm sorry, I'm there's so much I want to say. I'm trying to
you don't
not
have a time limit. You're okay. You're okay.
okay. um and how women are affected, and how they relate to each other, and how they're affected by the transgenerational trauma that comes from a patriarchal society and system in which men like my grandfather operate, and the ripples of that. So that
Mm.
was, I mean, it's a lot to unpack in a 12-minute short. But this was just dipping my toe into the kind of stories I'm passionate about telling and why. And this was a really first exercise in that, if you will.
Mm. Wow, very interesting. And it leads me to my next question. How did you get started in this industry? I mean, obviously, you wore a lot of hats in this, acting, writing. But how did you get started in this industry? What was your first step to say, okay, I'm either going to do that casting call, or be in that film, or write the screenplay? What was your first step?
So I'll be honest with you, I don't have an active memory of my first step because I was 4 years old. My
Oh,
mother told me that I did a school play in preschool, and was absolutely convinced that this was my calling in life, was to be an actor. And I pushed and pushed and pushed, and she took me around. And then I was discovered by a legendary woman in the industry. Her name was Nina Blanchard, and I joined her child roster, and I would go and audition for Disney and Sony Pictures. And apparently I just loved it. And then when I was 6, unfortunately, my family relocated to Northern California. And at the time, there wasn't really an industry there. So I had to kind of park my passion. And I tried a lot of other things. In my teens, I moved to Milan. I studied fashion design and worked as a model there. But I just couldn't let go this need to tell stories. So in my late teens, I went back and I studied at Lee Strasberg. And when I finished training at Strasberg, which I loved, method techniques really fascinating, and I think it's an amazing way to really get to know your instrument.
mm,
But right when I finished at Strasberg, the writer's strike happened. I mean, the timing was unfortunate. So what I did is I decided that I would just kind of travel around the world and take any job that came my way. I love independent film, and so my first film was actually with Diana, who's my co-lead in this project. And then
mm.
from there, I worked on films in New York, here in London, and I just love it.
Wow, wow, that's a heck of a road. 4 years old.
4 years old, yeah, it's really a life's journey for me. Um, I just can't see myself doing anything else.
Well, I can tell that you've been doing this a while, and it's hard to tell whether it's a repetition or whether it's talent. But what I see in both of you, both actors, there's a naturalness to your delivery. There's the things that are hard to coach, having expressions when you don't have lines, and reacting to things, being able to read parts of the story just in your facial expressions, timing, not feeling rushed, and not running around announcing things like you're in theater, which it's just terrible when you see it on film. Sometimes theater actors can't make the jump, but with you, it just seemed very cinematic, very real, almost like it was just somebody that you knew. And that's just not me. It's coming from all the judges, really, is just how natural the whole delivery was. So good job.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Um, Deanna creates such a joyous space to play in that, you feel so held and free by her. It's such a pleasure to work with her. And I think when we first started, I just thought, oh my God, this Emmy-winning actress wants to play with me in this little low-budget indie thing that I'm self-financing. I can't believe it, and she made this such a freeing experience.
Is there something that you learned from this experience that you're going to take on, for the rest of your career? Is there any good or bad? Is there anything that maybe happened during filming, or maybe any adjustments that you would make if you could go back and change it? Is there anything you're going to take with you from this experience?
So many things. Oh my goodness. So I not only acted and wrote this, but I produced it as well. And it was quite an undertaking for a first time on the writing and producing front. And so there were moments where it was a bit overwhelming. I can be a little bit type A, and I'm very organized. And so I would give myself more patience, more grace, and a little bit more flexibility as far as scheduling was concerned. We shot day and a half here, 2 days in Los Angeles, and it was jam packed into about a week and a half, and it was very, very strenuous. We were taking cat naps on the couch between scenes. It was really, really like wild guerrilla filmmaking. And so, yes, I would just give myself more patience, and also, I think, especially with low budget filmmaking, you always feel like you're going to run out of time, or you might not make it to the end, or what if the edit never gets done. And for us, with COVID and everything else, it ended up taking us almost 4 years to finish this film. And so,
wow.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. We shot it in, I want to say it was like mid 2018. And then it went through it was passed around a lot. We'd have an editor on board with a scheduling conflict, and that job would pay more, so we would have to go. And so we would respectfully say, of course. And, in the end, my director and I ended up editing the film ourselves over Zoom. We'd have Zoom meetings. We'd transfer the footage. I'd watch it. I'd take notes down to the second, send it back. And there were moments where I felt like, this isn't going to happen. This is just never going to see the light of day. But just, trust yourself. I guess that's my best advice. Through all those little obstacles and challenging bits, something beautiful can come if you can have the patience to see it through. So,
well, kudos to you for making that step. I mean, I'm sorry if I just cut you off, but
no, please. I love chatting with you. It's so fun.
This is fun, and kudos to you for making that step. I've met people who, not necessarily actors, but I do see this with actors, that learning another job and wearing another hat is sometimes just like a no-go zone. And what I found, and I've learned this in doing the film festival thing, that there's sometimes, if you don't pick it up, if you don't pick up the ball, this is one of those things I talked about in the first chapter of my book that I wrote, is that a few months after you're shooting, you realize that you're just in a room with a hard drive and some footage, and everyone else has gone on to do different stuff, right?
And they go fast too.
And sometimes they don't even remember it by the time it comes back, right? And at some point, someone has to be the champion of this film. Somebody has to move this thing across the finish line. And there's a lot of movies that never get moved across the finish line. And for you to wear a new hat and learn something new and be like, okay, I didn't expect to edit today, or I didn't expect I was going to be the one to finish this film. An editor's edit. I'm an actor. For you to drag it through the finish line and then learn something. Now here you are, because of the situation, because of the adversity. Now you've got a new skill set, and now you're probably looking at production totally different. And that leads me to the question. Well, first of all, kudos for that. And
Thank you.
what's going on in the future for you? What are you doing next? And what do you got going on?
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I can't say what it is yet, but I worked on my first studio project, and that's coming out next year. I worked as an actor, and that's coming out next year. So that will be
Mhm.
in theaters. I can't wait to share it with you, but NDAs and patience are what's on the
Okay.
menu for the moment. And then a few people that have seen this film feel like it could have some legs for a feature. So I'm looking at developing this story further. I'm so in love with these two characters, Anna and Imogen, and I feel like the film initially started out when we finished shooting it, it was 17 minutes, and we worked it down to this very concise 12-minute kind of morsel, if you will. And I really like to see where these women can run.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, this has been awesome. I appreciate you being so transparent with us about your past, your motivations, you got personal, about where this really came from. And this has been a great interview. It's just been great to meet you.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. And thank you to all of the judges. I'm just bowled over. We're so proud to be a part of your festival. Really honored.
Thanks a lot. I hope that you're able. I know you're far away, but hopefully you're able to make it. I think that it'd be a really rewarding experience to see this live in front of a crowd in Oregon.
Fingers crossed. Yes, I definitely hope to fly over. So see you in person in October.
All right. Sounds good. Well, have a good one. Thanks again.
Thank you. You too. Bye.